Hi. There's a war taking place right now. It's not the one in Iraq or Afghanistan, but many people believe that it's more destructive than both. I'm Chris Thompson. I've been playing video games for over 25 years. There's some members of Congress right now who are trying to pass laws to ban video games. And if we don't do something to stop them, our entertainment, our kids' entertainment, may be at stake. The media typically portrays video games as evil, but I'm here to tell you that they're not. They're actually quite beneficial. Later, we'll go over some of the reasons that they're commonly despised, which are altered behavior, addiction, and time management issues. After that, I'll go over some statistics that prove otherwise, but I'd like to start with the benefits, which are improved motor development, enhanced cognitive abilities, and that they have psychological benefits. Now that we understand what video games can do for us, let's start talking about the benefits. One of the major benefits of video games are motor development. Hand-eye coordination is typically the one that is most commonly referred to. Everybody that plays a video game, because they're using their eyes and hands in sequence, are improving their motor reflexes. It is so widely known and scientifically proven that typically surgeons do a much better job and are more widely sought if they have played video games. One of the common drawbacks used to be the lack of physical activity, but with the newer console systems like Wii and the Xbox 360's accessories that are coming out, the physical activity has increased so much that it is now fairly equal to the amount of playtime that some kids and the majority of adults actually will get. In addition to this, the systems now actually teach basic skills for certain things. In the case of Rock Band and Guitar Heroes, you learn the basics of drumming or guitar. There are many other games that actually teach things quite similar to that. Now, of course, it's not completely perfect. You're not learning how to play for real, but you understand the rhythm and the beats and what kind of movements your arms have to make. And even many of the opponents agree that motor skills are improved by games, but playing can also stimulate an increase in cognitive abilities. As far as cognitive abilities go, RTSs typically develop logic and decision. An RTS is a game where it's actually called a real-time strategy. It's a game where you actually have to strategize and there's no stopping. The entire computer players and all act at the same time you are. Games like Heritage of Kings and Settlers and Age of Empires are two of the more common ones that I have actually. Age of Empires is a very big series, and it's all about ancient civilizations using different armies and fighting against each other, collecting resources. Having to make these split-second decisions and decide what's best for your character or your team is actually a big help in improving your cognitive abilities. Then there are the educational games. Educational games are very important. Games like this Winnie the Pooh, it's a kindergarten game. I've got it for my toddler. It helps to learn shapes, colors, things like that. Then there's Zoo Tycoon. Zoo Tycoon is an educational game based on simulation. It's about learning the histories of certain types of animal species. You learn how to care for them, what they eat, basically what animals are okay to put together and which kind aren't. Now, if you were ever going to run a zoo, that would be useful. But for the majority of people, just understanding the history is helpful. In fact, educational games are so important that nowadays many schools actually prefer to use games as a teaching tool for younger kids. Then there are the RPGs, which are my personal favorites. Harvest Moon is a game where you actually you have a character that runs a farm. You have to balance the farmland about how much you can till to make food for yourself, how much you till for your animals to make wheat and grass, things like that. And you also have to balance a budget. Of course, virtual, but still the idea is the same. World of Warcraft is another one. in this particular game, you are doing a lot of fighting, but the game itself revolves so heavily around reading that in either of these, you're actually encouraging your kids to not only read, but expand their vocabulary because the reading is so extensive. For many people, cognitive abilities are only one of the reasons for mental health, as they value the psychological benefits more. According to aboutourkids.org, if well balanced, which means that you don't play too terribly often, games are actually a great method of stress relief. And also, according to WashingtonPost.com, games such as Bejeweled, which one of the places it's located on is Facebook, is because of its repetitive nature and the little amount that you have to think, is actually a good form of controlling your moods, specifically depression. Then there's another game called Second Life that's been out for several years now. It is a virtual society where players interact, not really a game setting, it's just simply a community. It has become so important to psychologists and others that they actually use it for people that have social disabilities to improve their social interactions. In addition to the benefits that some look at, the media's main focus are often the drawbacks that are cited by many researchers. One of the most typical is altered behavior. If you ever remember hearing about shootings in schools or rampages by just about anyone, where a lot of killings or something similar took place, they attribute it to first-person shooters. First-person shooters are the games where you actually look out of the eyes of a player or your character. And the violent criminal behavior that it's associated with is almost guaranteed in the media. They consider anybody that's playing a first-person shooter as more likely to commit violent crimes. In some instances, the first-person shooters are actually used in the Army to train. There are simulators that are used to desensitize and to practice aim without having to waste the money on the bullets and stuff. According to the APA.org, in addition to the violent criminal behavior, the first-person shooters are also linked to delinquency and fighting at school. Now, altered behavior is one of the major reasons given by many researchers to avoid playing violent games, but most parents are concerned more with their children or themselves becoming addicted. Addiction is something that I have firsthand knowledge of. According to wanttoknowit.com, one of the major symptoms of addiction is that you lose time, or lose track of time, and you lose interest in any other activity, such as eating and working. Now, I remember years ago I was playing on World of Warcraft and EverQuest and things like that. And they were always talking about these people who became so seriously addicted that they died playing video games. There was one case of a guy, I believe he was in South Korea, who was at an internet cafe, played for 48 hours straight with only short breaks to go to the bathroom, didn't stop to sleep or eat. He actually died at his computer. Then there was a case of a mother that was playing EverQuest 2. Her 3-year-old daughter got in the car, her mother was not paying attention to her, and after several hours the girl died. Now, I can tell you that addiction is an issue, but it can also be a partial reason for a lack of time management skills, which is one of the other important disadvantages to playing video games according to helium.com. One of the things that you have to consider for time management is that you're going to get less sleep because a lot of times you might stay up late playing games. And if you get less sleep, it makes it much harder to remember things that you're learning at school. You're also not going to get homework done because most kids are going to take a choice of playing over doing homework. In addition to that, you're going to get less time socializing with your friends because you're not going to be outside playing. Now that we looked at some of the